Hey, Gypsy Nurse community. My name's Steve Curtin. I'm the CEO of the Gypsy Nurse, the largest online community for travel nurses and healthcare professionals in the world. And welcome to another session of the Gypsy Nurse Live. I am thrilled to have Adam Conrad, the founder and chief executive officer of Great Recruiters, here to join us today for today's live Gypsy Nurse session. And I think to kick it off, we have an announcement to make, and that is the fact that Great Recruiters and the Gypsy Nurse have formed a partnership to give Great Recruiter reviews and information to our travel nursing community. So, Adam, welcome. And I am thrilled to be partnering with you to bring your fantastic ratings and review information to the Gypsy Nurse community.
Yeah, thank you, Steve, and I'm really excited to be here as well. It's kind of like a match made in heaven. I'm married to a nurse, right? And so I love that our product is helping to help nurses out there in the community, and I love what you guys are doing. I'm equally excited about the partnership. It's part of as we unpack a little bit about what we do. It's about creating transparency, and I think that's one of the things that is lacked across the entire staffing industry. And so I'm happy to help you guys. Bring more transparency to your audience, and really excited about the partnership as well.
Yes, it's absolutely fantastic. And for those that are joining us today, this is late breaking news. So if you're watching this, then you're the first to hear about this partnership between Great Recruiters and the Gypsy Nurse. Adam, I'm wondering if you could tell me, for those that don't know, tell our community, for those that don't know, a little bit more about Great Recruiters, perhaps a little bit of background in terms of how you guys got started, your own personal background. I know you were in the recruiting and staffing industry for a number of years. If you could talk to us a little bit about Great Recruiters, what you guys do, and a little bit about the history, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. So just give a little context and color of my background. I grew up in the staffing industry. I started my career my early 20s, and been about 25 years now that I've been in the industry. And really, the first 3 years, I provided very little value to the people I worked with. I was very much transactional. I was more about my agenda, putting butts in seats, and I
Hmm.
didn't add much value. And really, it left me not feeling very valuable or providing any purpose. And so I left. And then I got connected with another staffing agency that, to me, opened my eyes and did it the right way and helped me realize that as you recruit, relationships are key. And I really learned a different way of recruiting and building relationships for life. And through there, I became a recruiting manager. I was running operations, and really wanted to create great recruiters, because no matter how good a job I did, there was always that negative perception in the industry, and there was no way to really differentiate a bad recruiter from a good recruiter from a great recruiter.
Mm.
And so we launched Great Recruiters to help get real-time insights, reviews from the people the recruiters were working with, the travelers, the job seekers, to provide transparency into what their peers feel about working with them. And since then, I mean, we've evolved in the last 5 years to full experience management. We're helping organizations manage the experiences of their travelers, their compliance, getting feedback of the experience of the facilities. So the core of what we do is help get real-time feedback from the people that are being impacted by the services provided by the staffing firms. And then publicly, as you'll see on the Gypsy Nurse, is what's great about having feedback if you can't do anything with it. Well, we know we're in the reviews economy. People trust reviews as much as a friend's recommendation. And so we provide all of the digital assets to our agency so they can go ahead and share all the great work that they're doing. And we don't hide the negative
Mm.
stuff, but it's all about creating transparency. So in this digital world, you have a little bit better insight, not from what the firm's saying, but from the people they support, what they think. That was a long one, Steve. I'm going to let you
No,
take over.
you did perfect. An A+ on that one, Adam. Do me a favor. Tell us a little bit more about. I know that Great Recruiters essentially is applicable to all staffing firms, but can you
Mhm.
talk a little bit more about your healthcare vertical, which is where we're partnering here?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's you know, the my wife's a nurse, right? I mentioned that she's not going on job boards as much. She is always looking for recommendations. And what I find is a lot of nurses out there are like, who's a great recruiter? Where do I find one?
Right.
Who can I trust? And we know that it's a referral game. And so with great recruiters, recruiters on our platform have a profile that helps talk about them, who they help, who they service, and it provides all this great review data from the traveler's peers. So
Mhm.
you can read from other people's perspective what the person provides and who they are and the types of jobs that they have to kind of give you more peace of mind that you're working with somebody who can be trusted.
Yeah. Well, I'll let our community know a little bit more about how specifically the Gypsy Nurse is going to be working with great recruiters. And again, this is literally, we are announcing the partnership today. But in terms of the information coming from great recruiters, we're very happy and proud to say that the great recruiter review aggregation, if you will be shown on various companies that are mutual clients of ours. So for the clients that are working with the Gypsy Nurse, in terms of staffing firms and the firms that are working with great recruiters, if you are a mutual client, with your permission, your aggregate ratings will be shown not only on your agency page, but also on your job details page. So, Adam, to your point, what a fantastic way for nurses to get easy information right away, summarized information on a particular agency, which is obviously at the top of many travel nurses' minds. I'm wondering if you could tell me, Adam, a little bit more about when you have when you essentially aggregate your ratings and reviews. What are some of the things that agencies or recruiters are being rated on? So in other words, what are the factors that go into these ratings? How do you come about them?
Yeah, really good question. So, for us, it's a multifaceted approach. Overall, we want to know how you feel about the individual, right? I mean, we are in a human to human business. And when you interact with another human being, you're left with some sort of feeling. And so we want to know, how do you feel? Traditional, a lot of people want to understand that recommendation question, right? That NPS, how likely are you to recommend? We want to know where you are in the journey with that recruiter. But really, the ratings are driven by five key attributes of what, through my own experience in 25 years and through talking to countless of candidates, of what they're looking for in a recruiter beyond just having a job. They
Mm,
want somebody who's genuine, who's responsive, who's experienced and knowledgeable, who's an advisor, and who's transparent. And so those are the five key attributes. I love acronyms, and they actually are great, is the acronym for those things. And so those are the five key attributes that we measure every recruiter on. And so you want somebody who's going to want to understand your needs, know where you're at, is going to be responsive to you based on what that means. You want somebody who's experienced and knowledgeable and understands, what it's like to be in your shoes, that can provide you some advice and guidance along the way. And transparency is probably the biggest thing that I hear. When you don't have transparency, you don't have trust. And so we are really big on that transparency piece, because transparency leads to trust in this kind of digital world. And so those are the ratings that go into it. They can also ask additional questions based on the agency's needs, but those are the core things that drive the ratings for great recruiters.
Adam, how do travel nurses provide the rating information to great recruiters? Where do they go to actually rate and review a recruiter or a particular agency? How does that happen?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a few ways. The beauty of this platform is it's set up to really be a quality control tool for the agencies. So agencies that are using great recruiters have it embedded in their process that
Mhm.
they're regularly asking the travelers throughout their journey, right? So they're directly soliciting because they are using this to ensure the quality of their services. Also, every recruiter has a unique link in their URL that they can embed in their email signature. That's the open door. Click here to review me. Or any traveler can go to Great Recruiters and can go ahead and rate a recruiter there on the platform of somebody that they've worked with. But really, from the experience management standpoint, what's important to know for the travelers is that agencies that use our platform are using it because they care about the experience, right?
Mhm.
Everyone talks about it. it's on everybody's website. Nobody's going to tell you that they're going to create poor experiences for you, but we all know that they do happen. And even the best firms trip up. And
Sure.
it's not about being perfect. It's about providing the traveler with a voice that when things aren't perfect, they can speak up. Or if they are, they can share what makes that individual recruiter great. And so it's that quality control piece that's embedded, um, really to ensure that every interaction is being measured and is they have the tools in place to take action if there are issues.
Well, so speaking of taking action, I think it's very easy for any profession, if you will, whether it's staffing and recruiting or any other professional endeavor, to take positive comments or positive feedback. Given your background in recruiting, as a recruiter yourself and working with staffing firms, what do you recommend for recruiters that perhaps had a problem with a particular situation, they've gotten some poor feedback? How do you recommend that they digest that information and act on it? Because I know some people will just want to stick their head in the sand and say, well, that was just a bad situation, it wasn't my fault, I'm moving on. What do you say?
I say seek to understand, meet the person where they're at. I mean, we're humans, right? Some people just want to vent, they're having a bad day, and that could come through in a review. I think what I find amazing is the amount of truthfulness that is coming through in these reviews
Mm,
it's not, they're not hateful reviews. I think people would think, oh, their recruiters are going to get, just blasted with all this negative. They're not, because I think the travelers understand, like, look, I'm asking because I want to do a good job. And if I don't do a good job, please let me know. And so I think you have to take the feedback with a grain of salt.
hmm
I've had many recruiters come back and say, the scariest thing is getting the negative feedback.
yes.
But once I think they get that and they can get their egos out of the way and say, is there some truth there? Is there something that I could do better? Am I not asking the right questions? Responsiveness is a very general term. And so what I've always taught recruiters is you have to understand what responsiveness means to the individual you're responding to. If it's daily, it's daily. If it's weekly, it's weekly. I had one recruiter that got blasted because she was following up every day, and the person's like, "It's enough. I don't
That's too
need
much.
that."
Yeah.
Right? So I say meet them where they're at, and in order to do that, you have to seek to understand. Um, but the biggest thing is for me is, imagine if you have a bad experience at a store. You leave feedback, it's negative, you're not happy, and then somebody intervenes and says, hey, Steve, that's not the experience that you should expect here. Help me understand what went wrong and how can I make this situation better. And then you say, well, it's this and this, and we do those things. I don't know about you, but if I'm in that situation, I'm leaving that place with a much better feeling about them. In fact, you might have
Yes.
just got a customer for life, because it's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about helping people resolve the problems that they might have in a courteous way. And I think that's what Great Recruiters does. It opens that door of feedback, that if you're not asking, you just don't know.
Now that's a great point. I think not all experiences are going to be perfect, but if there is a bad experience, to just ignore it or hope it'll go away or chalk it up to a bad day or a bad situation is probably not the right strategy. So to be open and kind of hit it head on and be honest and transparent about it, I think is a great way to look at it. Can you tell me a bit about or cite any examples of perhaps some firms, that it doesn't have to be in the healthcare vertical, but any
Yeah.
firms that you've worked with over the years that perhaps didn't start out with uh, great ratings for their recruiters or their firm in general, and then subsequently over time improved and noticed a change in their business?
Yeah. And so that's where we started. It was about increasing operational performance through real time insights. I remember our first kind of thing. And so this is really core. And so when an agency comes on, you got to measure what you're saying. And if your website is saying you're doing A, B, and C, and these are the things that you are portraying yourself to be, well, this is a way to measure that you're doing what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes from an early client that ex- did exactly that. He's like, I know there's opportunities for improvement. I don't have the insight into what it is, but I know if I'm not asking regularly, I'm never going to know. I'm just left guessing. And for many recruiting organizations, how many submittals and how many candidates have you worked with and how many placements? And it's all the quantitative,
Mm.
right? Where's the qualitative piece of that? And we bring that qualitative part in. And so what happens is when you know every interaction can be measured and somebody can provide feedback, I think human nature is to make sure you're always putting your best foot forward, even on your worst day. And I think that's what's amazing. It becomes that catalyst to say, okay, I'm being measured about understanding your needs and being a genuine person and being responsible. And when you set those expectations and you set the bar, they know what bar to reach. And for many organizations, they don't set those bars. They just put words on their website. And so there was an agency that used this platform, realized that they had some recruiters that weren't good for their core values in their business. It was a smaller firm, but they were figuring themselves out, and they used this to help identify. And eventually, you get better at it.
Well, and I'd like to take this opportunity now to get into some direct advice to the travel nursing community in particular. As I mentioned at the outset, I'm so pleased and proud to say that the Gypsy Nurse is the largest community of travel nurses and travel healthcare professionals in the world. We have over 575,000 followers and members across all of our digital platforms. And I can tell you from having been here for a number of years now that the nurse and recruiter relationship, obviously for the healthcare staffing vertical, is incredibly, incredibly important. I would suggest that perhaps it's as important as any staffing vertical out there, because the nature of travel nursing and healthcare travel staffing, as you know, is 13-week assignments. So
Right.
you're not just doing like permanent placement. It's essentially a one and done. Maybe every couple of years you'll have the ability to place somebody. This is potentially every 13 weeks. And we know that our members of our community will follow certain recruiters from agency to agency or develop relationships. But in terms of specifics, you touched on it earlier with some of the rating points, but what are some pieces of advice that you could give to particularly those that are perhaps new to travel nursing, what to look out for in terms of positive traits, negative traits, red flags, when to stick with somebody? Please give me a little bit of insight on that from your perspective.
Yeah. Well, I can't speak for every human being out there, so I don't know how much great advice, but I can say that you know what you're looking for. If you're a travel nursing newbie, right, and you're going to be out there, I would say align with recruiters that do really well with working with new people. There are recruiters out there that specialize that like that. They're going to be a little bit more patient and caring and nurturing,
Hmm.
rather than a recruiter that's working with the veterans, right? They just need to know where to go, what locations do you want. And so it goes into the needs of people, varies drastically depending on how much your own experience. I would say definitely, if you're starting off, talk to a number of recruiters,
Yeah.
see what you like. What I love about what we're doing is great recruiters wasn't developed. The recruiters were in mind, but the reason we did it was for the job seekers.
Yes.
Like if you think about it, that's where the problem needs to be solved. And so for the job seekers, if you're reading a recruiter profile, they're talking about what do they like to do. And typically people like to work with people where they have some commonalities. One might love horses and you love horses. Well, maybe you have a common ground there. And so through our profiles, we provide a little bit more insight into, the human behind it, because it's humans helping humans.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as what to watch out for, to me is whatever the expectation is set, make sure that you have clear expectations of when you should hear back or that. To me, it's not about when they're set, it's about whether or not they follow through. If somebody says they're going to call you Friday before the weekend and they don't, and it becomes a pattern, Well, my guess is that there's a pattern of behavior there, and there's enough recruiters out there that aren't going to do that. I would say align yourself with another one.
I love
Uh,
the point you, sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say,
yeah,
I love the point that you made about working with new travelers. I think that's so critical because we see in our community, we have, as you well know, we've got a very large Facebook network discussion
mhm,
group, the Travel Nurse Network discussion group. And what we see all the time are discussions about the travel nurse and recruiter relationship and how it can differ from we would call newbies to people that are veterans. And
yeah,
certainly the newbies that are new to travel nursing, there may be parts of the industry that they don't understand. There are, like it or not, there are contracts and agreements and other sorts of things that come into play. And if I think the veteran travelers, a little bit easier for them to work with that and navigate that. For people that are new, boy, that's awfully tough. I love that example about patience with working with somebody that's newer.
yeah. And I just think there's naturally some people that are better at it. They're more nurturing. It's what it takes, right? They know it's gonna be a little bit longer. And I was talking to everybody like I love working with the newbies because I love helping them out and getting them accustomed to what's going on and making it a great experience for them. And others are like, I can't stand working with the newbies. They don't know what the
Right.
credentialing is, how, questions about the housing and all that. So it's just it. We're humans helping humans. You got to find someone that's going to be aligned with you. So I would talk to a number of them. I would definitely say if you're new and you're going to talk to a recruiter,
Hmm.
start with talking with highly rated, great recruiters, right?
Hmm.
You're going to be able to go on to the Gypsy Nurse. You're going to see those firms that have the great recruiters ratings. You'll be able to drill into that and look at their recruiters. Start with those people because those are the ones that have a lot of other people that said, hey, they've helped me out. And so do your research first. I would say connect with 3 to 5 recruiters. And if you like what they have to offer, then stick with them, right? I mean, as a traveler, not everybody's going to have everything that you need at any given time. It would be great to think that there's always going to be a one-to-one relationship between traveler and recruiter. And as you said, Steve, typically when a traveler finds a great recruiter, they don't care what agency they're at, right? They're
Right.
following that person
They
around.
will follow that person. Yes.
100%. And that's the relationships. Go find those relationships. Go find those 3 to 5 people that when you're ready to make a move, you can let them know. Let them do the work for you because they're going to be happy to do that. But that's what I would recommend, certainly. And I don't know what else what other color as far as advice is trust your gut. I'm big on if you make commitments and they're not following through, if you don't
Yeah.
feel like they're being transparent, there's tons of companies out there that are being very transparent in their pay packages and everything because they want you for life, right? That's what the staffing firm wants. And if they don't treat you like they want you for life, you might not be working with the right ones.
Yeah, and as we both know, there is such a high demand for travel nurses out there now, and it is a very specialized component of healthcare. Shame on recruiters or agencies for that matter that don't operate in a way that they would be indicating that they want a long-term relationship, that it's just transactional. You don't want that transactional feeling on either side. You want to develop a long-term relationship. Um, Adam, relative to that, how can a travel nurse, or in particular, say a newbie travel nurse, be an easier candidate to work with? I know that we talk about the role of the recruiter in the agency and so forth, but in terms of a candidate working with an agency, what are things that aside from their clinical qualifications and what have you, how can they be a better candidate and be easier to work with from a recruiter's perspective?
Well, I think communication goes both ways.
Yeah.
I've been always big on don't pull any punches at the last minute.
Mhm.
It's just going to create a rub that doesn't need to exist. And I would say that if you have a recruiter that you trust, that they should trust you. And you know, you might be working to get the best pay package. You hear some people say, "Don't work with multiple recruiters." It's not a good thing because you're gonna put them up against each other. I just think being honest. I mean, if you're gonna take a step back and say, "Look, it would be foolish of me to not try to find the best opportunity
Hmm.
for myself and for my assignment that affords me the type of pay that I'm looking for in a desired location in a facility that is going to be good for me." I don't like if you're putting yourself in their shoes, like why wouldn't you want that?
Right.
And to say that you have that perfect job, I don't agree that as a recruiter, I never had the perfect job for everyone. You just don't. And so I think being honest and transparent about what you want as a job seeker, I think is important. Don't do it in a way to peg people against each other, but be open. I'm looking for this. This is what I want. This is where I'm going to be. I'm going to make a decision by then, and I just think that that goes a long way.
Good advice. Adam, just in the last couple of minutes here, I'm wondering if you could take a step back and give people a viewpoint in terms of the number of, across your entire platform, not just the healthcare vertical, but you guys have grown. You and I have known each other now for a few years. You guys have grown tremendously as an organization. How many different reviews or ratings do you currently have now? I mean, I was looking at somebody the other day that had 6 or 7 thousand reviews that were aggregated there for their particular healthcare staffing firm, which is incredible. I'm just wondering if you could give people an idea of the scope of the great recruiters reach at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's hundreds and tens of hundreds of
Yeah.
thousands of reviews that are going through it. It's millions of candidates that have gone through the process. Tens of thousands of recruiters. I mean, the funny thing is people say, "Well, it seems like a lot of your recruiters are all rated high." I'm like, well, if you think about what our platform does, when you know you're going to get reviewed, wouldn't you want to be the best you can be, right?
Hmm.
And so it
Good point.
definitely elevates people's and heightens them to want to provide great service. But I mean, we've got hundreds of clients on the site, thousands of recruiters. Um, if you look at, I think in the healthcare space, we're working with some of the most highly rated healthcare staffing companies that
Hmm.
exist today. And that's just not through our platform, but when you look at ratings on the blue pipes, the best, the SIA's list and your awards, um, it's not a surprise that they want to be on great recruiters because like they want to be the best and they want to make sure that they have ways to ensure the quality of what they're doing, that they are the best, and they also want to acknowledge their own team, and they want the world to know, right? Once you
Yeah.
find the best, you really don't need the rest.
Well, I would imagine too that many of the firms that work with you also use your system to essentially recognize and reward recruiters for great work, right?
Yeah, and I think, bigger picture, Steve, if you think about it, we've really focused on the recruiter side of this, which makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
And yes, award and recognition, making them feel better. I mean, recruiters feel better when they're on it because they get a sense of, it's like a baseball player. I coach baseball, right? You're up the bat, you get 300. That's awesome. You don't place everybody you talk to,
Right.
but more times than not, it's only when you get a placement that you're getting the high five. Great recruiters is giving you acknowledgement along the way because the people that you're servicing are providing you that feedback. But you know, within healthcare, I think which is great is that we're helping with the compliance departments. Compliance is a huge thing, and so clients are using us to ensure the compliance department is doing a great job. They're on assignment. One of the biggest things that we released and we're doing is that we're getting feedback now from the travelers on the end facility down to the unit level, right? So those clients using that feature are able to say, hey, look, here's ABC Hospital at the PICU. Here's what they say about the core management. This is what they say about the patient ratio. And so it's all once again about getting that trusted insight
Yeah.
from your peers to help you make better decisions that you're going to be put into a situation that you're going to flourish in.
Adam, this has been a fantastic half hour with you. I really appreciate not only what you and your company do, because I think it's a fantastic service to the staffing industry and the healthcare staffing industry itself. I think it's a great service to the community, but also too, I am very excited about the partnership between the Gypsy Nurse and Great Recruiters. This is our kickoff. There are great things to come in terms of this partnership. And really, what I'm most excited about is the fact that not only our mutual clients, but also our healthcare traveler community will benefit from all the great work that your platform brings to the table. And it will be a wonderful way for them to get information on some of the top firms and recruiters to work with. So he is Adam Conrad, the founder and chief executive officer of Great Recruiters. Again, my name is Steve Curtin, the CEO of the Gypsy Nurse. Thank you all for joining, and we are excited about the partnership with Great Recruiters. So, Adam, we'll be talking again very soon.
And I'm excited about it, and equally really appreciate you having me on to share. If anybody wants to get a hold or has any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. And I think next week, I'm excited about the tables turn and I get to interview you. So I'm looking.
I will start preparing now for it, Adam.
Good deal.
Great to see you. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.